This is Counterpoint, and I'm Tanya Granick-Allen. Today, we're going to wade into an area of both controversy and concern within Canada: harm reduction strategies, specifically safe supply. Harm reduction is essentially a strategy promoted by some governments with the intention of reducing harms related to substance use and addictions. Now, while the intention behind harm reduction is undoubtedly rooted in compassion and a desire to address the struggles faced by individuals battling addiction, one of the major criticisms is that this normalizes drug use. With tactics like safe supply, some argue the market is being flooded with illicit drugs supplied by you, the taxpayer. Another criticism is that harm reduction overshadows the importance of prevention and rehabilitation efforts. So, should the government solely concentrate on investing more resources in education programs and treatment facilities to help individuals break free from the cycle of addiction? Is harm reduction misguided compassion by merely managing the symptoms rather than helping people overcome their addictions? Is safe supply actually safe? Well, joining me now to do just that and to unpack it all is Adam Zivo, a freelance writer and weekly columnist with the National Post. Adam, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So you've written so much and extensively on this topic. So for our viewers who may not be as familiar, could you please explain to us what is harm reduction and how do those strategies work?
So harm reduction is one of the four pillars of dealing with the addiction crisis. And the idea here is that not everyone gets the treatment right away. And while people are preparing to begin their recovery journey, it's important to reduce the harms that they experience so that they stay alive to get better. And harm reduction is an umbrella of different interventions, some of which are more understandable than others. In the 1980s and 1990s, it began with needle exchanges. So basically, giving out free clean needles and taking dirty needles to reduce transmission rates of HIV and hepatitis C. And that was really effective. Then in the 2000s, we saw the rise of supervised injection sites, which were more contentious. And then in the 2010s, we saw the rise of safer supply, which I and many others argue has been disastrous.
Okay, so tell us about safe supply. What is that and how does it practically work?
So safe supply essentially is the government giving out free pharmaceutical drugs as an alternative to potentially tainted illicit street supply. So let's say, for example, you're addicted to fentanyl and you buy it on the street. You don't know what the dose is, so it could be much stronger than you realize, which can kill you. And it can also be contaminated with things like xylazine, benzodiazepines, which can also kill you. So the idea is that, okay, we give you these pharmaceutical opioids instead of the street supply, that keeps you alive, and then eventually you seek treatment. And that sounds really nice in theory, but in practice, it seems that all we're doing is entrenching addictions and flooding communities with pharmaceutical opioids.
Yeah, and that was going to be my follow-up. From what you're saying, it sounds like this may just be furthering substance use and not reducing it, if that's in fact the objective here.
Yeah, there's two elements here. So the first element here is that safer supply has obviously had a really negative impact on recovery. So addiction physicians who I've spoken with all throughout the country, and these are dozens of physicians, say that enrollment in traditional recovery-oriented treatments such as methadone and Suboxone have declined dramatically ever since safer supply came out. I've spoken with countless people who were on methadone or know people who've been on methadone whose recovery destabilized because they found it easier just to get free opioids. They didn't want to be in recovery anymore because the government enabled them to get back into addiction. So that's one side. Then the other side is that many safer supply clients end up selling their free drugs that are paid for by taxpayers at rock bottom prices so they can make money to buy stronger street drugs. So we're actually subsidizing the illicit market, not mitigating it, and flooding communities with pharmaceutical opioids.
So, of this last point you mentioned, that essentially the taxpayer may be funding essentially and funneling the illicit drug market. How rampant is that?
It's incredibly rampant. Unfortunately, there are no studies that are being currently conducted to measure the scale of diversion. That's what they call it. But from former addicts who I've interviewed who are not on Safer Supply, they estimate that around 80% of the Safer Supply clients that they know sell most or all of their drugs.
Wow, 80%. That's incredibly high. And I think For our viewers, I'm sure that's definitely eye-opening to know that their tax dollars may be funneling an underground drug market. That's quite incredible. We're going to pick up this topic when we return in just a few moments.